G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today we're going to be taming the beast. Yes, that's right, it's the BF-109 K4. Now, I did make a video on this sometime last year, and I basically said that it's a good plane, but I don't like it. And that's basically because it's a typical thing for Tier 4 planes. You have to play them a lot to really fall in love with the plane. You have to have the vehicle spaded, or at least in terms of performance, spaded. You have to have played several games with it, and you really need to get a general feel for how every Tier 4 plane plays. You need to figure out the nuances and all the little details that come with the BF-109 K4. And this rings true for literally every single Tier 4 plane that you play in AirRB, regardless of nation, of battle rating, of role. And that's something that starts to really make the differences when you get to the higher tiers. So when you start off with your biplane, you don't really take into account how well it turns at certain speeds, or what its best climb angle is, or what its best climb speed, rather. And these are the things that start to really show themselves at Tier 4. Things like high speed acceleration, high speed turning versus low speed turning, stall characteristics, how does it like to handle, at what speeds, what can I get out of this plane that is going to bring me the most kills and the most wins. And this is something that I've taken into account and started to learn with the BF-109 K4. Now, to much of your horror, much of the community's horror, I am running the 20 mils. I think that I need the 20 mils just as a little bit of a backup, and you will see me actually needing to lean on them. They're a good crutch, especially if you can't aim the 30 mil, and I am taking the 30 mil as well, so it's ultimate heresy time. This is basically how the K4 used to have to be played at some parts of the game. Just because the 30 mil wasn't really reliable, and there was no 20 mil exchangeable in the nose. That only came a year and a half ago or something like that, when when there was a post on the forums essentially suggesting that the Germans were allowed to modify their BF-109 K4s and put a 20 mil in the nose, which they did. I think that's pretty cool, and I think whilst that's really cool and that's really good, I really like how the 30 mil performs. Now, it is a bit RNG, it is a little bit hit or miss, but there are certain things that you can do to maximize your effectiveness with the 30mm machine gun, or machine cannon rather. But one of them is to get an energy advantage, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting myself into a climb, and I can see ahead of me the 288s have basically spotted the entire enemy team. And that's what we want. We need someone who is going to spot things and bait. That is exactly what the 288s perform in the role of a Schnell bomber. They distract the people that aren't so good, and as a result, you isolate the good players. You see, even if you have a very bad player on your team, someone who's using their brother's account or their father's account or whatever, they maybe have never played many games of War Thunder. Maybe they just got their brand new Spitfire, and they want to unstock it. You know, they want to get some upgrades. What you don't do is go for the bombers, particularly the 288, because it's got that nasty tail gunner in the back, which I have covered before in a video, and you can pretty much see if you sit behind that thing, you're kind of asking to be shot down. So one thing you definitely don't do in a stock plane is go for bombers, especially if you have stock ammunition like Hispanos or MG151s even. The stock gun tends to be a lot worse. It tends to shotgun a lot more. It tends to overheat more. It doesn't really do as well in terms of in-battle performance. So what you need to do is you need to bide your time, you need to stick with a group, and you need to get kills all together, and obviously get the win. The win is most important if you want to gain RP and Silver Lions, and the JU-288s perform that role really well in saying that they can distract the Spitfires, they can bring them down, or the P-47s, P-51s, Corsairs, whatever. They distract them from their climb, They get them to jump off their climb and go and chase a bomber, which they're probably going to get killed by anyway. And then what that does is the people that actually climb and the people that are looking to get their energy advantage are outnumbered when they get to altitude because all of their teammates are down below. And that is a real killer. That is what ruins American teams, and that is what used to ruin the German teams. There would be some bombers, especially at battle ratings 4.3. I specifically remember flying my G2 and my F4. And what we used to do was climb, and everyone would type in chat, ignore the bombers. Do not go for the bombers. Do not die for the bombers. And it would ring out through chat. Not now, not so much. And you can see the difference that makes. My advice would be, take it easy. If you're playing a stock plane, work with your team. That's my advice to you. But in a vehicle, if you're spaded, you want that altitude advantage. And getting the win is what gives you the altitude advantage. Obviously, you don't want to climb to 8,000 meters because there's probably only going to be one enemy up there. You want to kill as many people as possible. And the way you do that is you gain enough of an energy advantage to out-energy most of the team. And this is exactly what I do here in the K4. The enemy is very, very far below me, and I can see that P38. So I'm just trying to stick a little bit above that P38, get a little energy advantage, and I'm heading towards him because I want to take the fight. I want the gunfight, and I'm confident that I'm going to win it with the energy that I have. I have a look at my position on the team, and as you can see, I'm dead last. And I'm thinking, well, this guy's probably going to sit there, and if he isn't spotted by now, then, maybe I should consider going and helping my team. There are a few guys that are unspotted, and there was someone that, in fact, died down at the bottom of on the deck, essentially. And there are a couple of lone enemies that are scattered. So basically, the toughest fight, the fight that we need to win to secure the match, is down on the deck, and it's going to be a 3 versus 1 or a 3 versus 2. And so I decide to very, very cautiously keep my altitude. I don't want to risk dropping and then finding 3 people above me, but at the same time, my teammates are going to need some help down there. So I start to dive, I lower the throttle, and I make sure that I don't overspeed. One of the things that you've got to do when you dive, especially in props, is reduce your throttle and perhaps do a spiral dive, whereas I'm doing a straight dive because I want to gain a little bit of speed, and then I'm slowly putting that into a spiral. I'm making some maneuvers, bleeding some energy, because if I hit 750 kilometers per hour, I'm going to risk overspeeding. And at this speed, I'm not going to be able to pull out of that. And as you can see here, I'm hitting that margin right now. If I didn't do those maneuvers, this would have happened a long time ago, and I would have ripped. So as soon as I get to level wings, I put it on WEP, and then I go back for a little bit of altitude. You don't want to put it back into a turn, especially at 700 kilometers per hour, because at that speed, you're not going to really maneuver, and you can see how badly the K4 locks up at this speed. I'm not really pulling that tighter maneuver, and again, here we are in a 3 versus 2. I have energy over them, so it doesn't really matter. The P51H is going for a vertical on that tar. I managed to pop him with the 30. Nice and close, letting that shotgun ring out. The F4U decides to go into a right-hand turn, and I get him there. I hit him with a crit, his tail comes clean off, and he's going down. You can see that in those 2 turns, I've bled a lot of energy, a lot. So I go for a quick head-on with the Spitfire, and, it's a bit risky. Nothing came of it, and then I put it straight back into a vertical. You can do this if you have enough speed at hand, but if you don't have any energy and any speed, I would never, ever maneuver with a Spitfire, especially in a 1 versus 1. The K4 is just not designed to do that. But if I have the energy advantage like I do here, I can really, really take the fight into his territory and sort of push him out of his own comfort zone. And there are 3 very easy kills. But those enemies up at altitude that I was referring to earlier, the F4U and soon to be, I believe, a P51, are about to enter the scene. And this is one of the things that happens with props, is you get people that climb to 8K and then they realize, oh, there's no one at 8K, let's go down. And these are the people. The others are the ones that get either caught in their climb, they chase bombers and attackers, they maybe get caught in dogfights in 1vx's because they just don't have the numbers, because everyone's all scattered. And that is one of the key things you've got to realize with especially props. Sticking together is extremely important. You can't cover that much distance in such a short period of time. If you have a separation of 10 kilometers, that could potentially mean an ETA of 2 to 3 minutes if you're closing and they're in a dogfight. As you can see here, I get a wonderful bait. I get a really, really awesome bait from that guy there. And yeah, there we go, tar 152. Really, really good bait from the tar. You got to hand it to some players. Sometimes it doesn't really work, but other times it really, really pulls off. And working in a wolf pack, in a multiple engagement situation where you have, say, 2v2 or 3v3, as opposed to 1v1s in German fighters, especially at this tier, is the way to go. You really, really can't do it any other way, maybe with the exception of the tar 152H, but I wouldn't really take that into a 1v1 willingly. The thing is, with War Thunder, you really want to engage in multiple. You basically want to stack on the enemy. You want to stack on as much as possible and harass them in one at a time. Focus each one down, but obviously, if something has no longer become a threat, then I don't think it is worth going for. Now, as you can see, I've dipped the nose a little bit to get some speed, and this Bearcat decides to come in, and I'm using the 20s there in a rough head-on to get myself a nice kill. That's an ace in the K4. I'm starting to learn this thing, and it's actually starting to be really, really fun. If you can aim that the 30 mil, you can really, really get some fun games, and this was one of them. You just have such a strong energy advantage in this plane, and at altitude, you can really, really make the hurt, or put the hurt on the American teams. The Griffin Spits are a bit challenging, but the idea is that you work in a wolf pack. You never, ever work solo in a German fighter. That's not what they were designed to do, so that's what you really shouldn't do. But yeah, ladies and gents, that's the BF109 K4. If you want, you can run the 20s and it'll basically do the same thing. But realistically, it's a decent plane. It is a very good plane, and 5.7 suits it perfectly. It just fits so well. It's good fun, and you've even got a camo to unlock, so you actually have something to grind for. That's kind of cool. I would say the non-standard camo is really, really nice. But anyway, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.